بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا محمد وآله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة. اللهم فرج عنا وعنهم. اللهم فرج عن أولياءك في غزة فلسطين كلها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. صل وسلم على محمد وآله وصحبه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So, starting from here, no general theory of modern capitalism is in sight today, which is why I limit myself to 4 illustrations of the interaction or Wechselwirkung between economic and non-economic social relations under contemporary capitalism. Each of my 4 sketches or vignettes deal with a different facet of the relationship between economy and society and capitalism. So that's what he's going to do, the relationship between economy proper and society within capitalism. So let's remind ourselves. So capitalism is a civilization or world order, and that includes views about individuals, society, and the state, and within society proper social order versus economic order. So he's going to talk about the relationship between these 2 orders within contemporary capitalism. So it's if we think of capitalism as an ideal type, so we would have some conception of how society works within capitalism and how social relations and economic order interact in an ideal type of capitalism. But what he wants to see is empirically how these things manifest themselves or realize themselves. Obviously, imperfectly within contemporary capitalism and the rising problems and all those things. So each of my 4 sketches or vignettes deal with, I guess he's talking about what he's going to do. It has been a while since I read this article. So each of these 4 sketches or vignettes deal with the different facets of the relationship between economy and society under capitalism, which with economic relations conceive as a particular kind of social relation. So yeah, nested in a way that is supportive and subversive at the same time into a more encompassing social relations. So that's in normal society you have that. So in a non-capitalist society, the social relations and economic relations are an important but a small part of it. And economic relations are sort of nested within social relations as a whole. And the nature of social relations is totally different from from economic relations. So there's a different rationality working within social relations. And social relations and their rationality put limits on how economy work in such societies. And obviously, depending on the nature of society, those can be there can be varieties of those constellations in different societies and different worldviews and different civilizations. But now, in capitalism, in actually existing capitalism, you have a social order and you have economic relation. First thing is economic social order becomes nested in economic relation increasingly. But more than that, the rationality according to which social order is supposed to be working is the same as the rationality according to which economic rationality prevails both in economic relations proper as well as social order. And as capitalism matures, economic rationality or capitalist rationality overtakes social order, and there's no independent rationality for social relations as such. The same rationality pervades or prevails in both domains. Obviously, it's never perfect because if it is perfectly, if social relations are totally subsumed under economic relations, I think a society will collapse. But a mature capitalist society is a society in which this actually happens to a large extent. So each four of my sketches or vignettes deal with a different facet of the relationship between economy and society under capitalism, with economic relations conceived as a particular kind of social relations and nested in a way that is supportive and subversive at the same time into more encompassing social relations. In each case, I will show how economic relations, upon closer inspection, turn out to be social ones, meaning while social, political, cultural relations are found to be fully intelligible only with recourse to their interaction with the underlying capitalist economic order. So that's within capitalism. I think this is important. Let's just spend some time on this. So what he means, economic relations, this might not turn out to be exactly what he means, but we'll see when we actually. Economic relations within capitalism. And he's talking about capitalism, contemporary capitalism. Closer inspection turn out to be social ones, in the sense that they are embedded in and rely on social relations. You can't have economic relations without some sort of social basis, because within society you have you develop a capitalist individuality. So individuals which interact in economic relations or indulge in economic relations are socialized in this social order, which is a capitalist order. So in that sense, these particular economic relations rely on process of socialization. And this socialization is capitalistic in the sense that it inculcates certain rationality within um, individuals and social relations. But that capitalist rationality is not, concretely speaking, economic or just economic rationality. It's more like general capitalist rationality about, what life is and what's the purpose of life and how should you live and what are your goals and etc., which turn out to be particularly economic goals, but they are not economic goals as such, in the sense that without a particular kind of socialization, education, justification, the actual economic goal won't function. Okay, so I think I'm just trying to understand this. So I think what I gather from this is a particular economic relation within capitalism as a system depend on social relations, because without socialization, a particular kind of socialization, and by socialization I mean a particular upbringing of individuals, education and culture, entertainment, day-to-day life, in which a particular individuality and individuals develop, and particular types of interaction within those individuals which are non-economic develop, they are presupposed by economic relation. So without this rationality, the economic relations won't work optimally. That's one thing he's saying. And the second thing is, but at the same time, he is saying, but at the same time, you can't understand socialization in general, which include, political interactions as well, and general social interactions, without understanding capitalist economic order. Because probably it is this order, basic capitalist economic order, I think, for two reasons. One reason is the socialization basically work on the same sort of rationality which is manifested more concretely in economic relation. That's one. And the second, I think, is the reason is that as capitalism matures, the economic order sort of overtakes the social order, and in a sense become parasitic on social order, because it just instrumentalizes social order for very specific particularistic economic goals within capitalist social formation. Okay, I mean, this will become clear as we go ahead. At this point, it's very abstract. Okay, then he say, I'll begin by arguing for treating capitalism as an endogenously dynamic and dynamically unstable social system. One driven to expand and dependent on expansion, and one, on this account, more often than not, and in particular today, in critical condition. So capitalism as a history. So I will begin by arguing for treating capitalism as endogenously dynamic and dynamically uncivil social system, one driven to expand and dependent on expansion. And on this account, more often than not, and in particular today, in critical condition, a capitalism as history. So that's his first vignette. So we don't need to talk about this. We'll talk about that when he actually expand on these things. Secondly, I will show that conceiving of the capitalist economy, as is frequently done, as of a regime of rational action in response to material scarcity, underestimates the role in modern capitalist society of socially generated and sustained imaginaries, expectations, dreams, and promises. I think that's sort of goes back to what we were saying. That's the actual economic relation. Actual particular or concrete economic rationality, which we study in economics as capitalist rationality, cannot work without prior socialization. And that prior socialization include education, culture, and all those things. So not only is capitalism a culture, but the capitalist economy is one as well. Because without capitalism as a culture, capitalist economy cannot work. And then obviously capitalist economy in turn overtakes that culture and uses it for its own particularistic gains as well. But we'll see when we elaborate on that. So that's the second vignette. The first is going to talk about capitalism as a history, and then capitalism as a culture. And the third one, with reference to the conflicts that arise within capitalism, is combined with democracy. Because the democracy we have is a constitutional democracy, which means capitalist democracy. But democracy in theory can go against capitalism. So democracy has been channeled for capitalism within existing constitutional democracy, but at least at the time of crisis, democracy can go against capitalism. So the relationship between democracy and capitalism is not always without tension, so he's talking about that. Third, I will discuss capitalism as a political system, as a polity driven by fundamental tension between moral economy vested in capitalist society and an economic economy vested in its economy. The latter being ultimately a moral economy as well, namely that the owners of capital, that of the owners of the capital. I mean, the owners of the capital is itself an owner, as we will see. In capitalism, there is no owner really. Capitalism owns everybody. But we will see. I suggest that it is this tension rather than the political mismanagement that account for the successive economic imbalances that have been in evidence since the end of post-war growth period. It's going to talk about moral economy. So capitalism has a morality at the social level, at the level of society. And the relationship between its economy and this moral economy and economic economy, whatever it says, we'll see. I suggest that it is this. Okay, so the last one, the fourth, I will finally I will argue for conceiving capital as a way of life. I think that's very important, as a way of life. That's what I call civilization, and we can translate it as a deen. ad-din. So capitalism is a way of life, ad-din. Um, um, it's a type of thing what Pharaoh called at-tariqatukum al-muslah, your ideal life type. I will argue for conceiving capitalism as a way of life. Nizam-e-Zindagi, what we call Nizam-e-Hayat. Not just actually Nizam is a more, because Nizam is a system. Way of life encompasses system as well, because capitalism is both a life world and a system. So it's both a society and a system. I will argue for conceiving capitalism as a way of life shaped by multiple interactions between market expansion, the structure and collective values of the social life world. And government social, by drawing on the case of the relationship between female labor market participation, female family life, fertility, and the changing role of market state in raising the children. So socialization come again, because the main arena of socialization is family. So capitalism, on the one hand, in capitalist society, family is reshaped according to capitalist rationality in general, at the social level, but then a specific or particular economic constellation of that social rationality in turn colonizes those very sources of its own life as well. So that's in that way it is a complex process. Okay, so I think that's good. We'll start next time from capitalism as a history. Okay, thank you. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma ansur awliyaka fi Gaza. Allahumma ansurhum ala a'daika wa a'daihim innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allahumma farij an ahlina fi Gaza. اللهم كل وليا ونسيرا يا رب العالمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا وعلى محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.